The mirror never lied, but his mind did. The tension in his shoulders told a story he hadn't yet named. Same gym, same racks of iron gleaming under fluorescent light, same playlist pulsing through his earbuds. Yet something inside him quivered differently. He gripped the bar, felt the cold metal bite into his palms, and wondered why progress felt like chasing smoke. He chased strength, but focus slipped through his fingers. Every repetition felt like a question, not an answer. The weight moved up, then down, mechanical, hollow. His muscles remembered the motion, but his mind had already wandered to tomorrow's meeting. Last night's argument, the endless scroll that waited in his pocket. Most people never notice when their workout becomes a ritual emptied of presence. The body shows up, the mind checks out, and somewhere in that disconnect, the real transformation never happens. He thought he was training his body. What he didn't realize was how profoundly he was neglecting his brain. The word that changes everything. Here's where it gets interesting. He'd been saying it wrong his entire life. Workout, one word, noun, thing, an object, something you do to your body, like changing oil in a car. Mechanical, transactional, get in, get out, check the box. But then, something unexpected rewired his attention. A trainer mentioned it casually, almost dismissively. You don't go to a workout, you work out. Verb, action, it's what you're doing, not what you're attending. The distinction felt small, linguistic, almost pedantic, until his body started listening to the difference. Workout, two words, carried intention. It implied a process of figuring something out, untangling a knot, solving a problem. Workout like working through grief, like working out a difficult equation. The body and mind, collaborating on the same mysterious project. He paused that evening, mid-set, realizing progress was as much mental as physical. Studies from cognitive neuroscience suggest that language shapes neural pathways. The words we use to describe actions literally influence how our brain processes those actions. When we shift from going to a workout to working out, we activate different prefrontal regions associated with problem-solving rather than routine execution. The semantic shift wasn't just clever, it was neurological. When repetition becomes ritual without consciousness, part of him wondered if the mental fatigue was stronger than the muscle. Every morning, he'd arrive at the gym with a ghost version of himself, physically present, mentally adrift. He'd count reps like counting sheep. 1, 2, 3. Somewhere around 7, his thoughts would splinter into fragments. Grocery list, unread emails. That conversation he should have handled differently. His form suffered. Not dramatically, just enough that his lower back whispered complaints he chose to ignore. His progress plateaued, strength gains stalled. Recovery felt longer. What would you do in that moment? Most people double down. Add more weight, more sets, more volume. The body becomes a problem to be solved through force, through accumulation, through sheer stubborn repetition. But force without awareness is just noise. He discovered this the hard way. A nagging shoulder strain that refused to heal. The kind of injury that doesn't announce itself dramatically. It just hums quietly in the background, stealing inches from your range of motion, adding seconds to your recovery. Then came the mental plateau. The real test began. His trainer asked him a strange question. When you lift, what are you paying attention to? He didn't have an answer. The weight, the mirror, the timer, your breath. The trainer said, start there. The neuroscience of embodied attention. Something shifted when he stopped trying to conquer his body and started inhabiting it. Breath became an anchor. Not the deep, exaggerated breathing of meditation apps, just natural awareness. The rhythm, the slight catch before effort. The release after exertion. In through the nose on the descent, out through the mouth on the press. Suddenly, his mind had something to grip besides distraction. Research in sensory-motor neuroscience reveals that breath-synchronized movement enhances interoception, the brain's ability to sense internal body states. This isn't mystical. It's mechanical. When we coordinate breath with movement, we activate the anterior cingulate cortex and insula, regions crucial for attention, regulation, and self-awareness. His workouts transformed from performances into investigations. Each rep became a question. Where do I feel this? What's working? What's compensating? Where's the tension I'm creating unnecessarily? The bar moved slower, more deliberately, not because he was weaker, but because he was finally present for the conversation his body had been trying to have with him for months. Sometimes, we only notice clarity when fatigue fades. Between sets, instead of scrolling, he'd stand still. Feel his heartbeat gradually slow. Notice the heat spreading across his chest. The slight tremor in his forearms, the way his breath naturally deepened without effort. These weren't wasted moments, they were integration. The neuromuscular system processing, adapting, rewiring. He thought he'd reached the limit, until that moment, the invisible architecture of progress. Progress isn't linear. It's not even visible most days. He'd been measuring everything wrong. Weight on the bar, numbers on the scale, minutes on the treadmill. All external metrics for an internal transformation he couldn't quantify. The real change was happening in the space between stimulus and response. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself, doesn't just happen in the brain. It happens through the body. Every time he moved with intention, rather than automation, He was literally building new neural pathways. Motor cortex communicating with prefrontal regions. Body teaching brain to focus. The gym became a laboratory for attention itself. Which part of this journey resonates with you most? He started noticing the transfer. That focused presence he cultivated during workouts began bleeding into other areas. Conversations where he actually listened. Work sessions where he completed tasks without tab switching. Moments of simple stillness without the compulsion to fill them with noise. Movement, it turned out, was the gateway drug to mindfulness. Not the sanitized, commodified mindfulness of apps and corporate wellness programs, but raw, embodied awareness. The kind that comes from feeling your muscles fail, your breath quicken, your heart pound against your ribs, and choosing to stay present through the discomfort rather than numbing out. But here's what surprised him most. The tool he didn't know he needed. What surprised me most wasn't just how resistance bands enhanced my neuroperformance. It was how everything felt different when the body and mind synced. I tested them repeatedly before realizing the real shift wasn't about the equipment itself, but the quality of attention they demanded. Unlike fixed machines that guide your movement, bands require constant stabilization. Micro-adjustments. Your nervous system can't autopilot through the motion because the resistance shifts and curves. Every rep becomes a negotiation between intention and execution. This isn't a promotion, just results. I noticed. The instability forced presence, and presence was the variable he'd been missing all along. Link below, if curious. Between the quiet mornings and subtle micro-shifts, he discovered a rhythm. Mind and body finally aligned. Recovery improved. Not because he was doing less, but because he was present enough to recognize when his body needed rest before it screamed for it. His sleep deepened. His mood stabilized. The chronic low-grade anxiety that had hummed in the background for years began to quiet. He didn't become stronger by pushing harder. He became stronger by paying attention. The reflection that stayed when he looked in the mirror again. The reflection hadn't changed dramatically. His physique was marginally better, sure, but that wasn't what stopped him. It was the way he inhabited the body looking back. There was a settledness there, a coherence. The fragmentation he'd carried for so long, mind pulling one direction, body dragging another, had begun to integrate. Not perfectly, not permanently, but enough that he recognized something he'd been searching for without knowing how to name it. Presence. The kind that doesn't announce itself with fanfare but reveals itself in small moments. The way he could feel his feet against the ground, the way his breath moved through his chest, the way his attention could rest on one thing without fracturing into 17 anxious possibilities. Workout had become exactly that, working something out. The tension between who he was and who he was becoming. The gap between routine and ritual. The space where transformation actually happens, hidden in the tiny choices to stay present when every instinct says to escape. This isn't about fitness. It never was. It's about learning to live inside your own experience instead of constantly fleeing from it. The gym just happens to be one place where the stakes are clear, the feedback immediate, and the excuses transparent. You can't fake presence under a barbell. The weight doesn't care about your narrative, it only responds to what's real. And maybe that's the point. The practice that remains, he still goes to the gym. Or rather, he still works out. The distinction matters now. Some days are sharp, focused, present. Other days, his mind wanders and he has to keep calling it back. Again and again, like training a puppy. That's fine. That's the work. The goal isn't perfection. It's attention. And attention, like any other capacity, strengthens with practice. Every rep is an opportunity. Not to build bigger muscles or lift heavier weights, though those might happen as side effects, but to practice being fully present in your own body, your own breath, your own immediate experience. Most people never realize they're sleepwalking through their own lives until something wakes them up. An injury, a crisis, a moment of sudden clarity that arrives uninvited. He got lucky. His wake-up call was quiet. Just a semantic distinction and a persistent shoulder strain. Just enough discomfort to make him curious instead of resigned. The body remembers everything we ignore. It stores every distraction, every abandonment, every moment we chose to numb out rather than feel. And then one day, it presents the bill. You can pay attention now, voluntarily, with curiosity. Or you can pay later, involuntarily, with pain. He chose curiosity. Where the story opens, this isn't an ending. It's barely even a beginning. There's no final transformation, no before and after photo that captures what actually changed. The most important shifts are invisible. They happen in the quality of your attention, the depth of your presence, the way you move through your days with slightly more awareness and slightly less reactivity. Small changes, compounding effects, a life lived increasingly awake. The mirror never lied, but his mind did. It told him that progress meant more weight, more definition, more visible proof of effort. What he discovered was simpler and harder. Progress meant showing up fully, whatever fully meant that day. Sometimes that's pushing to your edge. Sometimes it's backing off. Sometimes it's just being honest about where your attention actually is, instead of where you wish it was. Which part of this journey resonated with you most, and where are you watching from? The work continues. The practice remains. And somewhere between the breath and the movement, the words and the silence, the effort and the ease, something real emerges. Not perfection, just presence. See you in the next video. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not intended as medical, fitness, or mental health advice. Always consult qualified professionals before beginning any new exercise program or making significant changes to your training routine.